Creative Insurgents. Creative Insurgents.
Hey everybody, this is Corey Huff with theabundantartist.com.
And this is Melissa Dinwiddie with Living a Creative Life.
And this is the Creative Insurgents podcast,
where we are all about living a creative life by your own rules.
Nice. So Melissa, welcome back from jazz camp.
Yes, thank you. It was quite a week, swinging in the trees.
Are you overwhelmed?
I'm wiped out. I'm spiritually and creatively so energized and physically exhausted. It always takes me about a week to get back to normal.
Seems like every time we do some intensive creative thing, it's real easy to get, emotionally excited and physically exhausted.
Yeah, definitely. So I've learned to build the recuperation time into my world when I come back.
Nice.
Very important thing to learn.
Yeah, and I know you've written extensively about that on your blog.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we get into today's intro, I want to talk a little bit about what we've got going on. For those who are not on the Abundant Artist mailing list, you may want to know that with all of the crazy Facebook changes, there's a lot going on. And Melissa, I know you've probably seen this. People are freaking out about all the Facebook changes, right?
Oh yeah.
So, I post something on my Facebook page and nobody sees it, or Facebook's making everybody pay to reach their audience. It's very frustrating. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what a lot of people have asked me is, can I do an update on the Facebook for Artists course that I have? So we're doing that course. The update is going to happen on July 31st. So sign up is open now, and if you want to get in on the early bird rate for signing up for the updated Facebook course, then you can sign up at theabundantartist.com/Facebook-course. Again, that's theabundantartist.com/Facebook-course, and you can get in on the early bird rate for the revision of the Facebook for Artists marketing course. And we're going to cover all of these changes that Facebook has made, and we're specifically going to get deep into Facebook's ad platform so that you can learn how to spend your money effectively and actually make money back when you spend that money.
Fantastic. That sounds so great, Corey. I'm so glad you're doing that.
Yeah, it should be fun.
And I've got, before we move on, I've got a live event coming up just before that on July 26th. So if you are in the San Francisco Bay Area or near the San Francisco Bay Area, come on by to my play shop, Unleash Your Inner Creative. And you can find info about that on my website right at the bottom of every page, melissadinwiddie.com or livingacreativelife.com will take you there too. And look for the big colorful button for the Unleash Your Inner Creative Playshop. We'll spend a full day laughing and playing and sharing stories and free writing and making messes.
Nice. So, Melissa, I'm excited about the interview that we have for today. We've changed things up a little bit, and we've started doing these intros right before we release the interviews so that we can talk about things that are happening in real time. So we've recorded the interviews a couple weeks before we're doing the episode. And I was so happy with the results of this interview with our next guest. Owen Garrett is a guy with a big personality, and he's a big guy. And his black and white pencil drawings have won him fame among celebrity circles. He's done portraits of Emmett Smith and George Foreman and Ivanka Trump and a bunch of others. And he lives in this little tiny town in Canada where he and his wife, who he calls the Colonel, run this art gallery, and his website is pencilneck.com. And they have this online art empire. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the interview with Owen.
All right.
So Owen, welcome to the Creative Insurgents podcast.
Hey Corey, always a pleasure.
Your blog is terribly entertaining.
Indeed.
Before we get into that, just tell us a little bit, just a very brief overview. You started your career out as a drummer. How did you go from that to drawing for a living?
Well, accidentally. It was kind of there's over the years there's sort of two stories of kind of happened. There's the real one, and then like the mythology that's happened. But the real one was, yes, I was a drummer, and the band broke up, and I found out a few weeks later they got back together on the next Monday with a different drummer. So that stung.
Ow! Ow!
Ow! So I ended up, I was in in Calgary, a city about 3 hours from here, with a set of drums, no job, and I got a job selling artwork, actually. And we can get into how, about salesmanship if you want, but I became the #1 sales rep in the country. And I ended up, fast forward, and this is the irony, I'm sure won't be lost. I ended up hiring an artist and selling his work. And then Christmas time, my grandma was in a nursing home, and I'm like, what do you get her? More of those little jellies, or and so somebody said, well, why don't you draw her picture? You used to be an artist when you were a kid. And I thought, well, the price is right. So I drew a picture of a tiger, and it was great. So I made 20 prints and framed them all up for all the friends and family Christmas, and it was a big hit. And then I didn't do it anymore. And there was two combinations. This is where the mythology crosses over with reality. About within the same week, I realized that the artist that I'd hired, he was an excellent guy, but I wasn't getting his best stuff, and it was unfortunate. So something had to be done. I was looking for another artist. About the same time, a friend of a friend of a friend got a hold of me, saw the tiger thing, and he said, do you have another one? And I said, sure. And he said, do you want to sell it? Okay. And I thought, this is kind of weird, but okay. He says, what do you want for it? And I'm thinking, well, I got about $50 into framing this, so if I got that out of it, that's cool. I said, well, don't make me an offer. He says, I'll give you $500 for it.
Yes.
And I said, okay. And I realized that was a heck of a lot more than I was selling the other guy's stuff for. And it was just one of those little perfect storms, and I decided to learn how to draw. And I had to draw quick, because selling art is what I did. And it's funny, now we don't tell the clients that I happen to know how to market artwork, because I can see it kind of spoils things on some level. So we don't always let that little tidbit out on the customers, because they prefer the notion of the years of struggle and all that, which did happen. But do you know what I mean? They don't. It's too crassly commercial to be able to actually sell something.
They want the story, and they want to know that they matter to your story.
Oh, of course. They love the part about the guy that I accidentally sold one for my first piece for $500. That part they like. The part, well, I have a particular talent for selling artwork. No, they don't want to hear that, because they're the customers, right?
Yeah.
And it ruins their experience. So we tend to leave that out. I mean, we don't lie about it, but if someone asks, that we do tell them carefully.
Owen, who were you selling artwork to, and what was the company that you were selling artwork for? What was this artwork, and what were the clients?
It was a door-to-door shtick in commercial, like going into buildings, and it was generic. Now they would bring it in from China, but they'd hired some artist, and they had framed up a whack of these. They framed them in house, and they had well, what you do is you go into these buildings and say, we got these left over from an art show. And I'm thinking, oh man, that's no good. You can't. I wasn't comfortable doing that, so I didn't. So I did something very, very radical. I tried telling the truth, and it worked. And I said, I represent this company, and we're doing a promotion for this artist, and we have a certain amount that we're selling on promotion, and if you would like them, they're regular this price, and we're selling for this price. Which is true. That's exactly what we were doing, but some people want to complicate it. And I was very, very lucky. When up to that point in my life, my mid-20s, I had only ever played drums or sold stuff, because I'm kind of unemployable. But I was very lucky in that my first real life mentor was one of the old school sales reps. and he was a national sales trainer for World Book. Now, anybody under 30 may not know what that was. It was called an encyclopedia, and they actually used to have to print it on books.
Encyclopedia?
Yeah, there's no W in that. But he was one of the old guys. And now when you think about those old guys, you start to cringe because, oh, everyone's had a bad experience with one of those guys. But he taught me something very, very important. And he said, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold. And you got to understand that you have two jobs. You have to be ingratiating so that their protective wall comes down and there's actual communication happening. And then you got to educate. What are you talking about, right? And that's it. There's no, press hard, the third copy's yours, and all those trial closes and all that crap. It doesn't fly. It's not that when that works, it's because the people are just they're buying to get you out of there. It's easier just to buy the damn thing and get rid of this guy. So, fortunately,
you don't get repeat customers.
Yeah, exactly. There's no career there. It's fortunately that method of salesmanship, if you can call it that, is pretty much gone. I mean, you talk to somebody under 25, and buying a car might be the only time they've ever actually been sold something kind of. The problem is nothing has stepped up, and there's a lot of feel-good, touchy-feely muck that doesn't work either.
Well, let's talk about what you do, because the thing that you do with your website and your personality and your brand is very much those two steps that you were talking about, the ingratiate and then educate. You've got this blog where you call your wife the Colonel and you talk about internet trolls and elves. What the heck is that all about?
Well, it comes down to, the people like stories. And if you're doing the thing about education, if you think back, chances are your best memories of high school, the teachers that you liked the best weren't the ones, with whacking the rulers on the desks and making you do your times tables over and over and over till you memorize it. There was an engagement there. There were stories. There was actual communication, and they made the subjects interesting. Well, that's kind of the same thing. It's not, and it wasn't always the most, what's the word I'm looking for, photogenic teachers that were the favorites. It was, usually it was the little old guy with cascades of dandruff and bad breath, and you kind of made fun of him too, but you'd love the guy or woman, as the case may be. And that kind of, there's lessons in that example where, number one, you don't have to be Tony Robbins. The world has one, and that's good. That's enough. It's about finding who you are, and finding a method of delivery, as it were. And the example I use a lot is, we are all diamonds, and we all are multifaceted. And the decisions you make as a business person, as a marketer, as an artist, it's about what facets are you going to highlight and present to the customer. A lot of people make the mistake of here's everything about me, and that's kind of scary. It's like it's been a long time for me, but if you're on a first date and you're with someone that coughs up their whole life, warts and all, there's really no use in having a second date because you got everything, right? You don't have to.
You either like it or you don't.
That's right. So, yeah, exactly. And it can be a little hard to digest that much. So it's not about full disclosure in terms of everything all the time about everything. But it's about finding where's the anchor points in your story, your history, your personality, your art, that the clients can hook onto, and I get that resonates with me. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there are artists that and some have become very good friends of mine, and they're like, well, Owen, I can't talk to customers like you do. Well, then don't even try. That's because that's not going to work. You're going to be uncomfortable. They're not going to like it. It's about, you've got to get your story and your character in terms of storytelling character. You've got to polish it, and that's so important. So and we've all seen examples of people that try to be on and on TV or wherever, and it's painful because it's I'm cringing even thinking about it. Well, that's the problem, is because they're not being authentic they're not being them. And if you're kind of a cranky old SOB and nobody likes you, well, that's fine. Be that guy then. That's you. Don't try to be nice if you're not, because the people, it's like dogs. They can smell things. Well, people can too. There's something out of focus here, and they'll know.
So Owen, I think most artists that I know would say that your business is pretty successful. Can you give us an idea of the scope of your business? You do a lot of things, so give us an idea of some of the things that you do in your business, what generates money for you.
Sure. Well, the number one thing is I got it in my head who my customers are, and I know these people, and they know me. So that's I don't know if that answers your question, but that's probably the single most important thing that artists who struggle, it's the reason they're struggling. They don't know who they're about and who they're talking to. So, for instance, I live in Alberta, which is, if it was an independent country, would have the second largest oil reserves in the world outside of Saudi Arabia. It's big here. So, and I would like to say that it was because of some brilliant stroke on my part, but the reality is it's geographic convenience. I just happened to live here and have customers asking for it. Well, that turned into that's probably, I'm guessing here, probably 70% of my business in one way or the other is connected to some facet of the gas and oil business. Whether it's a commission, actually, let me rephrase that. Not counting commissions, about 70% of my limited edition print sales and originals go on some level into the gas and oil business. Virtually all my commission limited edition prints that I've had done have been in some facet of gas and oil. My meat and potatoes, where I really earn my bread and cheese, is again, not that I was so brilliant to think of it. I just was finally understood what I was seeing. And it became very, very clear to me, and I didn't like it, but it really made a big difference. It is far easier to sell your artwork to somebody to give it away than it is to sell your artwork to somebody to hang over their couch. And that's counterintuitive, but if you think about it, hopefully there's about a zillion artists going, he's right, everybody gives my stuff away for wedding presents. I never understood it. Well, so for instance, in my own little world here at Mortgage Manor, do you think that I come walking in here with a hunk of artwork and hang it up on the wall? No, I don't. Why not? Because that's the Colonel's thing, right? I have my studio, and that's it. Her powers are useless here. But the rest of the house, I can't just go hang stuff up. It's more collaborative. Meaning she gets. But so if I'm at a show, okay, so say I'm at a wildlife hunting, fishing, whatever, because I do have some wildlife stuff, and there's a fella, he looks at something and is like, that's cool. That's really cool. I want to have that. However, there's this collaboration that has to take place. No, you're not hanging up another damn picture of a trophy buck in my hand, blah, 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 right? Okay, so which happens to everybody. Perfectly valid reason for her. So he's not going to buy it. You've got a problem. That's the realities of that particular situation. Okay, so and that's where most artists live. One-on-one, onesie-twosie. Okay, well, fortunately, I fell over backwards into this realization that it is far, far easier for me to introduce myself, and I can do this cold. I can just walk into a building, or I can do it, now I do it mostly through direct mail because I can multiply myself, a little bit online, where there are companies have budgets for this. They sponsor golf tournaments, they do safety awards, they do retirement gifts, they put things up in the office. So if I have a set of artwork, a series that speaks to their industry, where they grew up, and a lot of this is generational in this part of the world. Like, this is a third generation. Grandpa built this company. It is far easier to have a conversation with him where, we could use a dozen of these for the company barbecue, and then at Christmas again. We could do this twice a year. Now I've sold a couple $1,000s of artwork instead of a few hundred. And he's happy about it, and none of them went in his house. He might put it in his office because that's not as collaborative, or it's in the boardroom, but most of it's given away. It's given away for prizes. Somebody says, hey, you want to donate to this industry golf tournament? Here you go. And we do a little plaque if they want the company name on it. That's just one of our little bonuses. But essentially that's where I live, and I don't mean this as disrespectful as it sounds, but I really have no legitimate competition from other artists. What do I mean by that? I mean, my competition is the guys going around selling jackets and tote bags and crap with the company logo on it. That's the business I'm in. That's still almost 20 years in, that's where I live. And in different industries, we've been able to spider web out and do some more successful than others. Nothing's been as good as the gas and oil. I guess that's not a surprise, but I guess the lesson there is it's go where the money is, right?
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like, Owen, most of your sales are to corporations, to companies and businesses, rather than to individuals.
I'd have to check, but it's certainly the trunk of the tree, because what happens, something very interesting, and this is why I started doing it, is so, for instance, if a company gives away a dozen pieces of mine for golf season, the 12 people that get my work, not by coincidence, there's a catalog in the back, all my contact information's on the back, that's a big sales sheet back there on the back of the print. If a company gives away, say, a dozen over golf season, 3 or 5 of those people become clients themselves. They'll find me online, they'll look in the catalog, if they're within a couple hundred miles, they'll make the trip to the gallery, and we get them too. So we have our gold program, which is kind of our corporate program, how, the discount we give corporate clients. It's now a profit center, but when I first started, it was like, I just need to get these out into the world and be discovered. And I wasn't going to do it in galleries and things. I realized it worked better than I thought it did. Now we just have to make it profitable. So we did a little voodoo with everything from sizes and materials and all of that, and we do charge more now.
So can you explain what this gold access club or whatever it's called, what is that?
Sure.
How does that work?
I think actually I might even want to step back one step further, because I
Sure.
think some of the maybe early career artists might get a little tripped up here. So what you're really saying is that the largest chunk of your sales, the trunk of your sales, come from people who work for companies looking for gifts and things that they can give away to employees and at company parties and at events in the community. So they
charity events.
Yeah, so they buy a handful of pieces from you, and then they turn around and give those away as gifts.
Yep.
And then everybody who gets a gift, they get the print, but then they also get your contact information, and then some of those people will follow up with you, and in addition to the print they received, they'll buy something from you as well. Sure,
they'll get in the loop. They'll join my newsletter or what have you, and then start spread the word. So what the gold program is? So my limited edition prints are $229. We have an exclusive framing. They're handmade in Italy. Our matting is imported from the UK. We're the largest user in the world of this matting, and it's the good stuff. So we have doing the math. It's about $259 for the framing. So my frame limited edition prints are $479. What we do in the Gold Corporate program, and we don't call it corporate anymore because that was we found we were losing people. I'm not a company. I just want a few of these, right? We have a volume discount thing that I'll get to, but basically you get free shipping anywhere in the U.S. and Canada, and free framing, which is pretty huge.
Wow.
And because it's actually more, everybody that's ever done this has spent more framing something than they did buying the actual piece of art. So that's our value proposition. And anyone, especially if they've been to Michael's, is, I got to get these before this dummy smartens up. You can see it on some people because they've spent so much on it and they think that I'm losing my shirt.
So what I hear you saying is that you charge $479 for the print or whatever it is.
Yep. If you go on my website right now, that's what you're going to pay.
Right. So, but that price has your cost of the printing built into it.
Sure. The print, the frame.
Yeah.
That's
so
the retail price.
You've done the math to know it cost me this much to make a print and this much to frame it, and then my profit margin.
Yeah, and this much to ship it because we do free shipping too.
So you simplify the whole thing so the customer doesn't have to worry about framing or shipping. They just pay you one price, then they take it out of the box and hang it on the wall.
Yep. We'll even ship it to their customers for them. We do that all the time. And we do a custom little engraved or laser engraved plaque that compliments of or thanks for moving away or whatever. And
well, speaking of shipping, Owen, I wanted to ask you about that because when I was poking around on your website, I noticed you have a wonderful video demonstrates your proprietary shipping package and all of that, and you really seem to have shipping down to a science. And I know that is a huge stumbling block for a lot of artists who feel like, well, I can't even put up a shop because I don't know how to ship my work. I have no way to deliver a piece to a customer. So how did you figure that piece out?
Well, very painfully initially, but so here's like a handful of tips, and it goes into this ties obviously right into the framing. So we're dealing with painters and people that sell prints and things. So my prints are the size they are for a very specific reason. A few of them. Number one, maximize my materials. One sheet of mat board, I get 4 prints out of it. And we use 16 by 20 glass. It's right off the shelf, cleaned and everything. We don't even have labor. It's a standard size, and that made everything easy. And it also makes it easier as an artist. And all of artists, well, I don't want to limit myself. Well, maybe you oughta, because I don't have to think about any of that stuff. I know exactly what my proportions are. I know what my sizes are. That's done. I don't have to obsess about any of that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like my wardrobe. I have a lot of these kind of shirts, and they're all the same. And that's not an accident. I don't want to think about it. Just put something on. And I do get teased about it, but that's okay. So now that I've maximized my materials, and I know exactly I can't squeeze another dime out of this. And it's good stuff. I'm not talking about false economy here by using cheap crap. I mean, it's Arctique Conservation mat board. It's the good stuff. All my stuff is the same size. You can find, if you come into the gallery, hey, there's a couple of bigger things and one that's weird. Yeah, well, I won't be doing that again. It's ridiculous. Everything's the same size. Now, I know I've had many conversations with artists. Well, I don't want to be limited. Sometimes the piece will dictate otherwise, and they're right. Sometimes it does, but I'm not going to draw that. Then, if I can't make it work within this, I'm a professional, and there are very professional reasons why. Just because I want to do some art doesn't mean that I have to. There's a way. Figure it out.
And I'll interject here.
Sure.
This is something that comes up quite a lot. Is artists will say, "Well, I don't want to limit myself, and I want to make whatever kind of art I want to make." So they don't necessarily have to be the same thing. Like, you can continue making whatever art you want to make.
Oh yeah. That's.
But the art that you're selling in your business, like, you have a very specific business model that you've got processes in place for that you can basically hand off to an employee to do all these things, and there's no, like, I don't want to say no thought, but basically you've got a system in place so that you can do the same thing over and over again. And then in your personal time, you can make whatever you want.
Sure. Well, there was a hell of a lot of thought going into the front of this, and that's just it. You do it once. I'm a big fan of that. And I know there are going to be some artists listening to this that are going to get a little huffy, and because they're hearing this and thinking, oh, it's just production. You're just pushing this stuff out. No, it does sound like that, and we can do that, but that doesn't. We're not talking about the art. We're talking about the framing and the shipping. Okay, so there's two different things there. Everything is framed identically, and everything's the same size. And that's not just for my benefit, that's for the client's benefit, because it drives people crazy to try to put 3 pieces by the same artist on a wall, and they're all different sizes, and they don't go to get, there's no rhyme or reason. It's frustrating. And every artist that's been at this for a while is going to have those conversations. It's just, pardon me, it's not going to fit. It doesn't work. Well, mine do. If you got a boardroom, a great big wall, boy, it's perfect. If over the couch, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, because the images are all different, but because of the presentation is the same, it makes it very, very easy to collect my work. That's not an accident.
So you've got the prints, and you've got a system down for selling prints and framing them and shipping them out to people. How else do you generate business for revenue for your business?
Let me finish. Remind me to come back to that. I want to answer Melissa's question about the shipping.
Oh, right.
Because I do wonder in these little chats we have. So now that we've got everything is the same size, it means it's also the same weight. That uniformity carries over into shipping, and it's very, very important. It can be whatever size. You don't have to use what size I do, but we planned that. So there's a couple things with shipping. A, don't use bubble wrap for anything. You'll only do that once. It doesn't work. Most of the impact and damage, the impact really only comes in 2 ways. Damage. There's either pressure on the glass, which is, it was laying flat and it got stepped on or run over, and the glass is broken at the from the center. Very rarely happens that way. That's not where the breaks come in the corners. It's dropped and a corner hits. It's like the buttered side of the toast that hits the ground. Well, it's the corner of the artwork that hits the ground. So what we use, and we've, touch wood, we've never lost one with using my packaging. No, I can't say it anymore. We did lose one last year. Damn. But that wasn't our fault. So what we use high density styrofoam as our insulating material. We have it custom made, but when we started, we went to Home Depot and bought the foam insulation. It's sort of I'm told it's a greeny color, and it's the dense stuff. There's 2 kinds. You squeeze one kind, it leaves a fingerprint. The other one you have to squeeze quite a bit harder. That's the one to use. And it came in a 24-inch width, so we went and we 10-foot length, and it works terrific. We use 2 inches around, so it's the size of the frame is 20 by 24, so we use 2 inches all the way around of this foam packaging. We glue it to a sheet of cardboard, and then we stick it in a cardboard box. And if you go to my website, it's all right there. You can see there's no big secret here. So we have a lot of these pads, and we get the boxes made. It costs us a little more than I would like. It's I should have got this. It's between $10 and $12 a box to ship. And then we also have other boxes where if a company's getting a dozen, we'll pack 6 in a box, and those are like I believe about $15 to do, but you're getting 6 prints in it, right? So it's actually a lot cheaper to ship that way. And we ship FedEx for everything. And we just 2 weeks ago, our friendly rep called and said, "Are we getting all of your work?" And I told a lie. I said no. even though if you go on my website, it says FedEx, because that's what we do for most of it. But sometimes the clients want to use another carrier for their own reasons. So I guess it wasn't really a lie, but I wanted to see where she was going with this. And she said, well, if you sign exclusive with us, we can give you a bigger discount. Okay, so she refaxed the forms, Perfect. And I signed them again, and then I'm thinking, oh, and you bonehead, why didn't you think of this 10 years ago when you were? We do use FedEx, right? Because we got a better rate through them, and it was just in our neighborhood, it worked better for us, pickup schedules and that kind of thing. Well, guess what? If you sign an exclusive, here's a tidbit. Now you have to be doing some volume. I mean, I'm sure if you're only sending out 2 pieces a week, they're not going to care. But yeah, so our shipping just got cheaper, and
nice.
And they offered it to us. I didn't even have to stick the kernel on them.
Cool. So Owen, we're getting close to the end of the time we've got allotted here, but I want to thank you for all this stuff. This is really good nitty-gritty detail. Yeah.
And also, before we wrap up, I don't think anybody ever talked about how big Owen's business truly is. Can we? Because I know people are going to be really interested in numbers.
Yeah. Just give us an approximate idea. You went from selling $500 for a single piece to, how much money did you? What do you want to tell us?
Well, when we spoke last year, I thought we were on track. We were going to hit 7 figures last year, and we didn't. Yeah, it was close, but we didn't. But we should this year.
And is that gross, or is that?
That's gross, yeah. But there's a lot of margin. It's paper and ink.
So people, this is close to $1 million in sales we're talking about. That's the size of this business. So people who say that you can't make money as an artist, Owen is the proof.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I had friends, from university and things that became artists, and they were sort of got it in their head that I'm going to be an artist. That means I'm going to teach classes and be miserable, but I'll be happy being miserable because I'm doing my thing. And my best friend, he says, yeah, and then you came along and said, I'm going to be an artist and make some cash. And it wasn't that crass, but what else was I going to do? I got very, very lucky that I met people that helped me, even if I didn't realize they were helping me at the time. Everybody, when you look back through your life, you see there's a lot of happy accidents that brought me to this place, a lot of bad ones, but it's not as accidental as it seems. And I just got put in some situations and met some people that I really learned a lot from. And so it's kind of, you've got this nice business, and it's kind of like, yeah, but it's kind of like I'm getting away with something here because I didn't invent it. I just realized that, hey, that's usable. I can use that. That's helpful, and so I'm very, very grateful for that.
Well, I think the upshot is also that you've just always approached this from a business mindset,
absolutely,
rather than from a I'm a starving artist mindset, and that's really every artist that I've ever talked to who has a successful business has gotten there because they've approached it with a business mindset.
Well, and I also come from a musician background, and there are a lot of course, similarities, but there's also a few key distinctions about being a musician, and I have this conversation a lot with artists about, it's like to be successful you have to sell out, and you're not doing your own thing anymore, and I want to create my own work, and it's all me, 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 me. And as a musician, particularly as a drummer, there's a mindset that happens. So the example that I use is let's look at American Idol. Okay, that band is full of the best players you can find anywhere at any price. So let's ask the question, do you think they love every song they have to play on American Idol? I doubt that very, very highly. So are they happy doing the gig? You bet. Hey, it pays well. But the satisfaction doesn't come from any particular song that they play. Their satisfaction comes from, I'm the guy that got the gig. I show up on time. I'm sober. I know the material. My gear's in good shape, and I know this stuff. When I sit down and it's go time, I can deliver. Being that guy or woman has much more meaning to them than any one song they're going to play. Oh, good, another Justin Bieber song. Who cares? It doesn't matter. And I guess that's kind of what I come from that world into the art world. It's not about me. It's about the people that are out there dancing. That's what matters, and I've always done that. It's about who can I find and communicate with and talk to. And far too many artists, I contend, are all whim and, oh, I'm going to express myself. Oh, who cares? Who cares? You're not a child anymore. If you got something to say, did you learn something? Are you living a life that you have something that people can aspire to? I contend that's what art does. Yeah. And it's not just sitting down slapping some stuff together and complaining because you can't sell it. Well, they want you to bleed on it a bit.
Yeah, I think you got to put yourself out there. You got to communicate with people. Sure. Art for art's sake. Man, that's a whole other conversation that we should have another time.
Or not.
Owen, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. I know that you've got a couple of things coming up that are going to be that people might want to hear about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Marketing Tools for Artists is blog, and there's some courses available on specific things. The first course that we've done is the Ultimate Guide to Profitable Art Shows, because for most artists, an art show is the single best marketing tool they have, because they're face-to-face with their clients. The problem is they can get expensive, and there's a lot of ways to screw it up. So with my almost 20 years, I've done everything from the little come-and-go tea at the Humane Society to big international shows in Dubai. So that course in particular, there's stuff in there you will not hear anywhere else, because I invented it out of necessity. The other thing is will be done by tomorrow, the first draft of my first book, 45 Things Artists Do to Screw Up Their Careers. And we're pretty excited about it. It's not just the marketing. It's about how artists work, how artists think, how they interact with their clients. It's maybe I can get it up to 50 things they do. I don't know. Right now we're at 45, and so that'll be available hopefully over the summer. It should be done.
Awesome. Well, and thank you again so much for joining us on Creative Insurgents, and you have a great rest of your day.
My pleasure. Nice chatting with you folks.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I really enjoyed that interview, and I hope you did too.
That was awesome, Corey.
Yeah. Hey, so again, thanks for listening, everybody, and remember to go to creativeinsurgents.com and download the free Creative Insurgents Handbook, where we walk you through the steps that it takes to live a creative life on your own terms.